Is this really happening? This has to be a dream, some sort of nightmare. Nothing this bad has happened to anyone, ever. How will I live this down? How will I look my loved ones in the eye? This is beyond pain. I'm gonna watch this unfold in my mind as I lay down to sleep every night for the rest of my life. How could it come to this? I must have done something horrific in a past life to endure this. I can't really about to host another episode of Über Cinco, the podcast game show where we deep dive top fives. And today's topic is experiences you wish you could forget. Oh, that's right. We're going dark with this one, and I am, as I am told the kids say, here for it. So, joining me today are the two old warhorses. It's the Ginger Prince himself, Mitch Brinkman. Hello, Mitch.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I appreciate you guys just, letting me just spew my bullshit and everything. So I appreciate that. Thank you for bringing me back.
And facing off against him will be the main entity, Brian Ernst. Hello, Brian.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me once again on your fine podcast establishment.
It is our pleasure. And we also have our producer and scorer for the day, Dennis Schetter. Hello, Dennis.
What's happening, dude?
Well, first of all, I got to thank you. You're not just producing. You're not just keeping score. You also brought me my first ever vanilla Coke Zero. Because normally I have a Coke Zero before we record the show. Longtime listeners will possibly remember that. And I was sitting here and I didn't have a Coke Zero. I thought, man, I said out loud to myself very quietly. I said, I wish I had a Coke Zero. And then Dennis is like, oh, you will not believe what I have in store for you.
Like so magic.
I've just been pounding vanilla Coke Zeros all day.
I believe the quote went, "Oh, you have vanilla Coke Zero? Oh, fuck yeah!"
It has been a hell yeah, fuck yeah situation.
Yeah.
All right, so as host, I'm able to institute a house rule, and that rule is, of course, no forward passes, even if you're behind the line of scrimmage. So keep an eye on that.
Okay.
All right, and then normally I would tease my fast five here, but today we're going to do something a little different.
Okay.
Have a little challenge for our friend Mitch Brinkman, but we'll get to that after the game.
Amazing.
Let's not waste any more time. Let's start off with our number fives. Mitch, you can go first.
Thank you. My number five experience I would love to just forget happened. It was my summer after freshman year of college, and I was looking for a job, and I was bamboozled. I was, I would say, swindled and teased into accepting a job with. I wish I could remember the company's name. The guy's name was Ron that ran the place. Let's just call it Legacy Sunrooms and Siding. Let's call it that. So I'm brought on as a junior salesman for Legacy Sunrooms, and I'm like, wow, I'm a junior salesman. That's good. I'm a salesman. That's awesome. And it was a group interview. Red flag number one.
Already a big problem.
Mm-hmm. In the interview was me and three other women. And they were peeled off and sent to the steno pool, if you will. Very sexist, very misogynist. I was allowed to be a salesman. There were no female salespeople with this corporation. My first assignment was to go to the Minnesota State Fair and sell sunrooms to people. So I was 19. I looked like I was 14.
Is there a big market for sunrooms at the Minnesota State Fair?
No, there are not. No, it's just a place for people to stand and finish their French fries and their lemonade. That's basically what it was. So imagine me, again, 19, looking like I'm 15, in a bright yellow with blue trim polo shirt that says Legacy Sunrooms on there. And I'm supposed to approach people, entice them, and then I find out I'm not actually selling the sunrooms. I'm just setting up appointments for the real salesmen to go to their homes to sell them the sunrooms.
What is, when you say sunroom, I'm thinking a room in the house.
I can't wait to tell you. It is something that goes off the side of your house. The ceiling is glass. The left wall is glass. The right wall is glass. The wall in front of you is glass. So it's basically a beautiful place to read your books, play your games, or put your plants. So it's like
a cheap fabricated.
Whoa. No. Not cheap, my friend. Not cheap. minimum $50,000 to $60,000. Ron always told us as salespeople, guys, this business isn't built on people that deserve sunrooms. It's built on people that can't afford but want sunrooms. So, yes, it was very grimy. It was all about that financing. You know, you make it on the sunroom, you make it on the interest as well on the back end. So, and guess what, guys? Guess what make of car and color the car was that Ron drove for
Wait.
Legacy Sun. It was a branded Legacy Sunrooms car. This is 2006, so just imagine that culture at the time.
Fresh Toyota Highlander with lime green sunroom streaks.
Ooh, pretty close, pretty close. I like where your head's at. Well, I'll take one more guess and then I'll tell you.
Ford Ranger.
A Lincoln Navigator.
Oh, Brian, you're very close there. It was a same color as the polo shirts, bright yellow Hummer H2 that said Legacy Sunrooms on the side.
Hummer H2.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Ron was a real scuzzball. So, not surprisingly, I didn't set up a single appointment during the entire 2-week run of the Minnesota State Fair.
We were there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Because adults with real jobs don't get sold things by 19-year-olds unless it's candy or ice cream. So I did not do a good job.
That's not how my summer went when I was traveling Verizon wireless stores telling them how to run their business.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess you
They
were better.
respected me as a 19-year-old.
You were better at your job than I. So yeah, I stood there for 10 hours a day. Got 1 30-minute break to
This
go.
wasn't even an office. You were at the fair.
Did you have your own kiosk, or were you just roaming free and wild?
It was like a stage built where it was like I was kind of in a sunroom, but on a stage kind of at the same time. And
how did I miss this?
I know, right? It was absolutely terrible.
You're like the Comcast guy at Costco that I really don't want asking me questions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm standing on stage going, "Oh, dude, come, please, beckon, please come look at the sunrooms." And I'm like, "No, you're 14. I'm not going to buy your sunroom."
On what day did you give up and realize I'm just going to ride this out to the end of the fair because I'm not going to sell any sunrooms?
It was day 2 or 3, and I really just ended up just having Minnesotan conversations. Be like, "Oh, Ed, where are you from? Where because the Minnesota State Fair also everyone drives in from everywhere to go to it. So like, "Oh, I'm from Black Duck, Minnesota. We drove down today. We're staying with my cousin Carl. He lives in the big city, But then that's a real town. It's a great town.
That's incredible. I love Minnesota.
So it just kind of turned into those conversations. And I have a really big family, so I'm good at making really lame, dumb, stupid small talk. So I just did that for the whole fair. Made my $8.50 an hour and got a corn dog every day. So yeah, it was,
And there was the $8.50.
Yeah,
that's true.
the corn dog cost $10.50.
Do they still do the big bucket of cookies at the Minnesota State
Sweet
Fair?
Martha's. Yep, yep.
God,
they
that's the
sell
only reason I
them in a
want to go.
bucket.
I want to go for that bucket of cookies one day.
Yeah, it's a good bucket. And Ron would continuously try to give me sales advice. Be like, Mitch, what you got to do is really just highlight the advantages to having a sunroom. Your family comes closer. The sunlight gets in. That's vitamin D for like all this bullshit. But could you imagine me as a 14-year-old looking 19-year-old being like, it's vitamin D. It's so important. And they're like, shut up, little
They
kid.
ever call them a 3 seasons room? That's what some people call them here locally. It's like that offshoot thing. It's like it's a 3 seasons room.
But these were so expensive; they were 4-season sunrooms.
They had to
There
be.
were some,
You could go in them during a -20 Minnesota winter. Yeah, these were
For
spendy.
$60,000, I fucking hope so.
down in Roseville when I was growing up. A lot of my friends that grew up in the country, they had mud rooms.
Mud room.
There's in the mud room.
Yeah,
Like, well,
That's
we
where
don't
you
have
take
one in
off
my
your
house.
filthy overalls.
yeah. Mudrooms are great for mud and also snowy boots
True.
too. Great in a mudroom.
Yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely hated the job. And then I did one more conference or convention, if you will, over the next Christmas. Did a terrible job again. Didn't set a single appointment. Made so little cash. And then I quit. So
Well, this was terrible.
yeah,
Brian,
yeah,
you have
yeah.
to out terrible that.
Yeah.
So what do you have?
Can you do that?
I don't think I can. This is more of like a personal experience I'd like to forget because this is the first time I ever got paid to do video work. So someone actually hired me and I had my first client. I was 18 years old. It was through my neighbor. I was going to an office building to film someone giving a PowerPoint presentation direct to camera. And I would later put the PowerPoint in as the slides came up. I didn't own a lighting kit. I didn't own a microphone. All I owned was a handy cam and a tiny little laptop that had Windows Movie Maker on it. So I went there, acted all professional with my little photo tripod. It was the one that had like you had to go like this, wheel it up to get the tripod to go up a little higher to get it to her eye level.
I thought you were saying you had a film camera.
No.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, it was like I'm trying to think of what you would call it on the old power manual windows to kind of get them to raise up and down. So this little guy goes up. I'm not on a manual camera, and she is at the end of a long conference table.
Oh yeah.
And I decided to put my handy cam all the way on this side of the room and zoom in.
That is
So the
very
audio
smart.
is crystal clear.
Yeah.
And we filmed this thing. I put it together. I come home and I think I have got an award-winning production.
Sure.
Put it together. I send it through. And I'm like, they're going to be so happy with this. And the problem was they were, and they gave me a very false sense of what is actually needed to be successful in a video production business. And they're like, oh my God, this is great. And that's my first paid gig. The bar was so low. I think I made $700,
Wow.
which wasn't bad at all.
Oh, in those days, that was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money.
Wait, for just setting up a handy cam and then hit and play?
And then, yeah, and it was like a 45-minute edit. So it was a very, very long video.
So
Oh
was
my
your next
God.
gig like a disaster because you did the same sort of thing? And
I think it really kind of I felt bad that I had to turn this in. So I kind of looked at it and I'm like, I'm about to cash this check and give this to somebody. I really wish I could forget how fucking terrible this sounds and looks. And it's horrible. It's just gray. It's a handy cam. There's nothing to it.
Mhm.
And it was like, yeah, probably to a mini DV tape. So it's not even HD. This is like, yeah, this is way back in.
This honestly sounds closer to like a hostage video rather than like a corporate marketing piece.
Oh God. I remember it was in an office building at the corner of Harlem and Cermak. And it was for some sort of medical association. I always remember this building was very important to me because it was like the only skyscraper in Berwyn. It was the only building that was above 3 stories. And I think it had 6. So it was like, it looked like this big building on the corner there. And I was like, oh man, there's businesses in there. And I'm going to go in there with my camera and my tripod and do a job.
Did you wear a tie to the job, or did you try and just dress
Oh,
like Steven
I
Spielberg?
was a polo man for
oh,
sure
okay,
that
okay,
day.
okay. Basketball shorts or pants?
Pants.
Pants. Okay. Brian loves to wear basketball shorts. I just wanted to ask. I wanted
That's
to make-
so true.
Dude,
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
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 or at least you
Come
did.
on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better I love wearing than going to a grocery store wearing basketball shorts and a hoodie.
There we go.
that is the dream.
Just in case of a game of horse happens.
If I am not on the verge of being mistaken for early 2000s Kevin Smith, I don't want to be seen. So that's what I like. Yeah. So I wish I could forget how terrible it was, but it did make me better going forward.
Well, there's a happy ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was terrible, but then it's up to you to decide just how terrible both of these stories were.
Mitch,
Yeah.
your story's pretty terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it
In all
was.
the right ways.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm
Come
going
on.
with Mitch.
Yes.
Mitch is getting a 3. You got a 2.
Fair enough.
Cool.
All right. So we start off 3-2. We're gonna head back to Mitch
Yep.
for the number 4. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Nathan, you were actually here at this event that happened.
Oh,
It's
dear.
my number 4. Yes. So it was a friend of ours had a black and white party. It was Sarah and Stephanie, I think, hosted one. So I wore my. I went to 4 proms my senior year of high school. So instead of renting a tux, I just bought a tux. But I didn't buy a new tux. I bought a tux from a rental place. So the tux had been worn by other people before.
What was I wearing? Do you remember? I don't remember this so far, but
I'm pretty sure you had like a white button-up shirt with a black tie, maybe black jeans or something like that.
yeah, that's probably about the best I could do.
Yeah, that's my guess.
All right.
So,
Anyway, continue.
but yeah, so I'm in my tux, go to the party. This was a very, very fancy college party because their keg was Blue Moon. I remember that
Ooh.
detail.
That is
Wow.
top
Yes.
tier. Holy cow.
Yes. And so we were, doing the college thing, having our beers or whatever, slurping them back, and there was a young lady who had her eye on me, and I was kind of like, yeah, no, I'm good. I had my eye on another lady, I think, but she left or something, or I may have imbibed a little too much, wasn't smooth enough, perhaps. And this young lady got me to come back to our house with her, and I don't remember this part because I stopped remembering before I left the soiree. But I have a few shady memories of copulating with this young lady at her residence, and then yeah, oh hello. We wake up in the morning, and I'm like very hungover and everything, and maybe another roll in the hay fuel or something. Who knows?
Roll in the
But,
hay. And my grandpa showed up. You guys horsing around too.
Can I ask you this?
Sure.
Did you at any point make whoopee?
I did. Yes, I did. Yes, absolutely. Whoopee was made. I sat on that cushion a number of times. Okay, and but then so I'm like, okay, it's almost noon. I'd like to go now. So I'm like, I didn't really know this young lady very well at all either. So there was no conversation really happening. It was just physical conversation, and so I get on I get my tux back on, and it's the harsh light of day. I think it's a Friday maybe or something, and I was wearing some Nike basketball shoes. Remember too, so like it didn't match, but I was like, this is cool. I got a tux, but I got sneakers on, and I'm walking out. I'm like, all right, cool. Yep, it was so nice to meet you, and never wanted to, if I had a choice, I would have never, just didn't enjoy the company of this young lady that much, but alcohol, brought this upon, and I'm leaving. She goes, oh, but don't you want to get something to eat? Like, there's this pizza place right up the block. We can go get some pizza before you go. And I was like, oh, no, I think I'd kind of like to. She's like, no, come on. And I can easily get pressured into things. So I was like, okay, yeah.
Let's say any situation,
pizza.
I'd be like, I can eat. That would be my response.
I know, but it just was like I just wanted to be done with this whole thing. I didn't want to think about this anymore. But so we go and get a slice of pizza, and I feel terrible, because it's just hangover.
About to break her heart.
And I find out this young lady had a sordid club past as a high school kid. She had like a fake ID. She's just like telling me all these pretty tawdry stories from her pre-college days. She tells me about she has a stage name for like some, I don't know if they probably would have been like kind of like a drag show or like an anime drag show kind of thing. So she's just kind of like pouring everything out. I'm kind of like, okay, cool. I'm done with my pizza. I don't really like to go now. I don't remember her name.
Mitch.
I know, right? I know. I don't know if she remembers my name either.
Can you let me leave?
Yeah, I just wanted to leave. I was like, can I just go? And finally, I was like, I'm gonna leave. And I got up and finally got on the train to go home. And a lot of people, it's like that's it's like an injured puppy dog that they're looking at. They're like, oh, bud, because I also just looked like hell and was in a very cheap looking tuxedo.
Classic walk of shame.
Yeah, exactly. Classic walk of shame.
Yeah. He had the whoopee knocked out of him.
I did. I absolutely did. And I think I spoke about it to my roommate, Brad, at the time, and got a couple friends remind me of it, like a week later being like, hey, did you and, I don't remember, let's say Lisa, huh? You guys are going to be like chatting again soon? I was like, no, and also, why did you let me go home with her? And they're like, oh, you seem to be into it at the time. And I'm like, yeah, but...
Several people probably tried to stop you.
Yeah.
Just not.
I drank a cow tank of beer that night. Like, there's no way.
We
Yeah.
need to move on to Brian, but
Yeah,
I
sorry,
remember
this has really gone on way too long. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, I really want to get out of this moment. So let's move on.
Well, I believe this was the same party. I did have a little strange moment like that, but I ended up having an escape route.
No.
So one of the guests at the party made a little. We were in the kitchen, and she made a little move, and she gave me a little smooch, and I was like, I don't want any part of this. This is not what I would like to happen. So I'm like, she's kissing me, and I've got my eyes open, looking around, like, what can I do here? And I'm like, oh well, my beer's right there. So I just knocked my beer off the counter. Just
oh, thank God! I thought you were gonna reach for a frying pan.
And I was just like, oh no, now I have to clean this up. And so there I was, like I got the mop out and was just mopping, so I wouldn't have to kiss
clean him.
Yeah, basically. Anyways, it was a memorable night, I guess, for a lot of people.
You're a much smarter man than I. So yeah, God. Yeah. Let's just move. Just give me one. I don't know.
Well, we'll move over to Brian, see what he's got for us.
Number 4, Mitch was there for. This is my night at the Red Ivy in Wrigleyville.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's open anymore.
R.I.P. Red Ivy.
Yes.
Yep.
Country bar, right?
I have no idea.
I don't know what it was. Either way, college times. We all go out with a group of friends, and this is the one and only time I have been
This is for your birthday.
I think it was my birthday.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I don't know the math. This is probably 11 years ago.
Yeah.
This was drunk, the drunkest I've ever been.
Oh.
This is puking on somebody's lawn in Wrigleyville as
Oh
Mitch
my.
is carrying me home drunk.
Yeah.
And this is the time I was so bad and so hungover that it never happened again. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
But I remember drinking pint glasses of Long Island iced teas.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
That-
that'll do it.
That was it. I think I had at least 2 of those, plus I don't know how many beers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm swaying, and the only thing that's keeping me up are the dividers of the urinal. That's keeping me like bouncing back and forth like a ping pong ball. And I finally come out, and I'm professing my love for one of our friends who doesn't give a shit about me and is totally wrong for me anyway. And that's the last thing I remember is like, this is how I feel,
Drunk
man.
Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And then I puke, and then after that, I don't remember anything else. I remember Mitch got me somewhere safe,
Yep.
and I woke up on a couch, and I was like, never again.
I'm so sad I missed this because I've never seen you drunk.
Then you will never see it
Yeah.
again.
I brought you back to my house. That's where it was like, you know those war movies where a guy gets shot like in the hip and he's like, leave me here, leave me here. And then another guy's like, absolutely not. And then he like picks him up and, gives him like a little granola bar to keep him alive as
Yeah.
they get him back to base. That's kind of what it was like. Yeah.
Mitch fed me little snacks to keep me alive, and I'm
Mhm.
still here today to tell the tale.
Was
But
it-
I wish it's definitely an experience I wish I could forget.
Was that the drunkest you've seen, Brian? Mitch?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Really?
yeah. But Brian's joke now is that beer doesn't get him drunk because it doesn't. So, but that night he was chugging Long Island, so that's
Yeah.
a whole nother story.
That's
So-
cocktails, man. It's a different story.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a drink that just shouldn't exist.
No.
Yeah.
Anybody in my life who I've ever seen the most fucked up they've ever been is because of Long Island iced teas.
Yeah.
Yep. LIT baby.
Bar guys, you guys want to go to the bar?
I'm about 4 Long Islands deep right now.
I can smell.
I'm picking a
Dennis,
winner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Brian.
Yeah.
Dude, you got laid in your story. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Poor Mitch got to have sex.
Yeah, but
Poor Mitch.
but I felt like I was being forced into it. Like I was a never mind. Let's keep going. Yeah, you're right. This is
But
terrible.
3-1.
All right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Well, Mitch, it's back to you. It's number 3.
Thank you. This is an experience that went on for way too long. I was the marketing manager for Chicago's largest moving company. I was the entire marketing department, I should say.
Yeah.
So part of my job was to just go out and meet realtors and be like, hey, you should make us your preferred moving company, or like tell your clients, move with these guys. And that meant I had to go to lots and lots of realtor networking events, which is how many rings of hell are there?
7.
7. Okay, this was ring 8 through 12. So imagine everyone in the same gray sharkskin suit. And this is when no one was wearing ties either. So everyone's got their shirt open, buttoned down a bit. All the women are in the same kind of gray slate box dress. And it's like, hi, I'm JT Manaswaddle. And you're like, what was that name? They're like, it's the best, Mansueto. And you're like, okay, I sell condos and homes in Lincoln Park. And you're like, oh God,
And they all have sunrooms.
yes, they are. Yeah.
You know Ron?
You know Ron?
Ron had a life before after, definitely as a real estate agent, because that man had a tan that
It's
started
yeah.
below his polo shirt and it was deep.
City realtors are a unique breed.
Yeah. The worst thing is realtors, I think they try and make it seem like they're really, 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 really necessary. And some maybe have like a deep knowledge of how to buy homes and what to look for and what to check for. But it really seemed like to me that it's maybe 1 or 2% of the realtor population. And I should say this people have told me. There's like 200 registered agents per agency or whatever. Of those 200, 5% actually sell homes. So of that 5%, 2% of them know what they're talking about. The rest are just hot people who people want to bang, I think, when they go to look at a home. It's just like eye candy to be in the home as you're trying to decide. And the handshakes. Oh God, so many power handshakes. So my elbow got wrenched dozens and dozens of times. They ask you where you work, and I'm like, yeah, we're the city's largest moving company. It's like, we'd love it if they're like, oh, great, yeah. And then you're chit chatting about perhaps the Bulls for like another 2 minutes as they're just scanning back and forth like scanning for influence in the room, and you're just like, just go, just walk away. I know you want to go talk to someone else.
Did you land any deals, unlike the sunroom experience?
I mean, I think everyone, when I said, hey, dude, like, how about you make us your preferred mover? They'd be like, oh, yeah, sure. And then you're like, all right. And then we're like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I normally, suggest you guys
could
anyway.
have been an email.
Yes, exactly. 8 months of networking could have all been an email.
Oh.
Absolutely. And already I hated networking, but realtors, they just don't have anything to talk about. They just don't. And they all have that's gelled ski jump hair.
Mhm.
And they're all just so excited as a group to be led by one kind of godlike figure that they all bow down to. At properties, they were scuzz buckets for sure. So
There went that sponsorship.
yeah. Oh yeah.
At property.
Yeah. I think. Oh God, what's his name? Fuck. I wish I could remember the managing partner's name.
Scott, Mike,
It-
Tony, Frank.
Scott. Wait, Scott. No. No. His name is like Buzz Chandon or something. It's something like too much. But like that was
Is he
bad.
a relative of Flitch Slisman?
I think he might be. Pretty sure. Those were bad, but then also north side, like North Shore Realtor networking events too. Those were also just another level of gross. I don't know. And I just never thought realtors did enough to earn their commission personally. And it was just depressing. It was just very depressing. And I wish I'd never had to do it. And
Just the excitement and everything. I'm not in your voice this
I know.
episode. You're just so sad.
I mean, these are all terrible.
I know you're just
experiences.
like I just see you reliving it. Your eyes are getting heavy, and you're just like, this part.
Before Mitch starts crying, we better go.
Yeah,
Brian.
at least mortgage brokers know not to just talk, but realtors just have to keep talking.
They gotta
So,
keep talking.
yeah.
No, my number 3, I'm calling Bad Nights with the Windstar. These are the worst nights I ever had with my first vehicle, which of course was a Ford Windstar minivan.
That old girl was a beast.
I love that
She
old
was.
girl. She was great. But 2 bad nights in particular that I wish I could forget in the same vehicle. One of the first nights I was driving my friend Kevin home after he was over at our house late playing video games. I was like, I'll bring you back home. This was 3 weeks after I got my license. Pulling out of the parking lot, I back into the neighbor's car.
Hey.
Boom. That was about $1,900 worth of damage that I did out of insurance. So I'd like to forget that and get that money back.
Youch.
And then another night, we were filming something a couple of years later on the top of the parking structure of the LaGrange Township, whatever it was. It was the top floor. We were up there filming some Christmas thing. Finally get all the gear back in the car. And I'm driving 2 people home. I parked right next to a light post, so it would be as far away from the shot as possible. I forget I parked next to this light post. And I cut the wheel all the way right and look right and back up and bam, my driver's side door right into the light post.
Oh, God.
And I was so tired and exhausted. And I was like, that was all my fault. I knew that was going to happen. Something terrible was about to happen because I was overtired and should have walked home. It was like 4 miles. Should have walked home carrying all my gear.
Did you apologize to the lamppost?
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
I
That was
said,
nice of you.
kill my post, and then carved my name in it so it knew who's boss.
Good for
But
you.
those are the 2 nights. And the Windstar, I wish I could definitely forget.
That puppy could hold a lot of damn gear in her.
I
in her
am
backside,
convinced
tell you
I am
what.
only doing what I'm doing because I had that car. I don't think I would have been hired in my first video production job if I didn't have a minivan. They did not have a way of carting around gear. And I think that's the reason I got the job.
Wow.
Not because I went to school for it or was going to school for it, as because I had a minivan and could carry C-stands. That's the reason why I'm here today. So thanks, Mom and Dad, for getting the Windstar in 2003.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yes. I thought about that. I was like, that is a defining moment of having that car.
Wow. That's great.
There you go.
It's not supposed to be great, but it was great.
Yeah.
I try to find the silver lining, folks.
Sometimes the world works out, you know?
Well, Dennis, it's over to you for the scores.
Well, this one's tough.
Yeah.
Brian nailed it. I saw the look in your eyes. You just looked very sad. Like it's
it was so
it's
sad.
like we went back into that time. I felt like I was there. So I'm going to give you the win. Give you 3.
Okay.
Brian 2.
All right.
Dude, I'm
That's
sorry that happened to your car.
Appreciate it.
You know, I mean, light posts don't hit people.
That's true.
People that life.
Only accidents I've ever been have been me hitting stationary objects. So no one to blame but myself.
All right. Oh my gosh, we're already at the number 2s. Mitch, you are up.
Yep. My number 2 is that one time I had to go to a goddamn Shasta wedding.
So the Shasta wedding is the Uber stare down. Oh
Yep.
my
Yes.
God.
So this is your number 2 as well, Brian?
This is my number 2.
Well, that's perfect. It is Mitch's turn, so he'll get to go first. But I was not at the Shasta wedding, but I have heard tell. I am excited to relive this.
God, another story where Mitch and I were together.
I know.
Details.
It's like we're friends. God. Yeah.
People are sick of hearing about us.
It feels rotten in my mouth to say that, but that's okay. I'm kidding, of course. I love you, but
Love you too, you piece of shit.
fuck off. Okay, here we go. So if you don't know, if you never had access to Shasta when you're growing up,
The soda.
yeah,
Yes.
correct. It's the soda. Yeah, it's the malto meal to your General Mills. It's like the cheap generic shit.
Oh yeah.
And
I knew a person named Shasta.
oh
He or
were
she.
they cheap and generic?
It was a lady, and yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And this wedding had it wasn't 2-liter bottles of soda. It was Shasta does the 3-liter bottle.
Oh,
even
my
bigger.
God.
That's smart.
Yes.
They're under $1
Yeah.
at your local purveyor of Shasta, and it was just
Shasta Mart.
yes, the Shasta Mart. It was just the worst wedding. I guess because we both had it. I will speak to my least favorite moments, and then you can speak to your least favorite moments.
Oh, I'm sure they're gonna match up just
Yeah,
fine.
At the actual marriage part, the ceremony, the two people did not speak to each other during the vows. They spoke to the crowd. It was a performance for the
Yes.
crowd.
To set the scene, this is
Yeah.
a mutual friend of ours.
Yes, it was a mutual friend.
We were
of
invited to
ours.
their wedding. We had never met the bride.
Yes, we never met the bride.
Never met the family.
We got invited 3 days before via a picture he took of the paper invite that he just texted to us.
Yes.
Yes, I did not buy a gift, and I still refused to.
I'm
So-
glad we didn't buy
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I would have been
yeah.
angrier if we brought a present.
Exactly. But so this thing, the ceremony, this is a presentation to the crowd about, I guess, how good of speakers they were, and I was like, this is just all the wrong parts of getting married. They're not looking to each other's eyes. It felt like I was listening to a bad preacher preaching about something that I don't believe in, kind of thing. And then at the end of the groom's long, I'll say tirade.
Oh, the wedding tirade.
Yeah, the wedding tirade. He went like, he was like, that's it. And he handed it off. And then the priest goes, no, let me do that for you. And then dropped the mic on the ground. And I was like, no.
Brian was there.
No.
Yes.
Brian was
Oh,
sitting
you were
right next to
pissed.
me. Yeah.
I saw this. It was, yeah.
Brian's like, how
you
you gonna
don't
talk-
damage. That's probably from Sweetwater. You don't damage good gear like that.
No, absolutely not. And like our eyes were both rolling and looking at each other at the same time. We're just like, oh, Jesus Christ. This man had just found Jesus too. So it was a bunch of newfound, I almost said newfound glory, but that's a band. Born again. There we go. A lot of born again BS going on. And then when we get to the reception hall, and there's no beverages there for people. It's a dry wedding.
Yep.
Giant red flag. A lot of people stopped at Dunkin' on the way and had big old fucking 32-ounce Dunkin' coffees at the table with them. And the only beverages available, you had to go up and ask, you get the diet or the cola. Shasta, that's it. And I was
Pretty
like,
sure there was orange too.
Was there orange?
That's what I picked.
okay, there we go. And then I was like, how about water? And they're like, you want water? And so they had to go to the back for a cup of water.
Yes.
All right, Brian, you pick it up from there.
What are your
I
recollections?
think the only thing I want to add to this, aside from the Shasta, the plastic forks and paper plates buffet for the dry pork that we were served,
Well, the driest fucking pork. Ugh.
I knew that would upset Mitch,
That pissed me off so hard.
was the performance from the maid of honor and the best man.
Yep.
The maid of honor and the best man were exes.
Oh, that's fun.
And they did a bit, what they called a bit, of them calling each other out on each other's shit. as they were like trying to be like, thank God you guys aren't going to be what we could have been.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Was like the approach.
Okay.
It was like divorce material for
Yes,
the entire reception.
yes.
Yeah.
It was just so off the mood of what everyone wanted. And it was like, and most of the people in the room had known them when they were a couple. So it was like this, like,
I've got to imagine some sincere animosity started to seep through the routine as well.
or loud applauses for whoever was on whoever's side. Like when he threw something like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then
Yeah.
she would throw it back.
Oh.
Like they were getting reactions, but then when it went too long, everyone gave up on them.
Went silent. Yeah.
Silent.
And this is all couched in a structure where they were pretending the entire reception was the Academy Awards.
Oh,
It was
Oh
an
my
award show.
right.
This
Yes.
gets worse and
Yep.
worse.
Oh.
Yes. So they're like, and the award for best father of the bride goes to like Terry Johnson. Terry, come on up and then they'd go up and do their speech.
Oh, they made everyone give speeches.
Yep.
And
There
we
was
just
like
sit through all of them.
6
Oh.
speeches.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
One speech is too many.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And also, so part of this theme, it being Academy Award, this is old Hollywood. They said there was nothing old Hollywood except they had a candy table that was all candy from the 40s, which is really hard to find because candy from the 40s fucking sucks and no one wants it.
It's all chalky wafers.
Yeah, it's all chalky wafers and
or
like
Charleston chews.
yeah, and they're like, oh,
They had the
Temecula Company suck sticks.
I remember you telling me though that
Tastes like vanilla. And you're like, that's we have more flavors now.
From the 40s.
Yeah. But do you remember how I made enemies at our table by accident?
I don't remember.
Do you remember this? Okay. So they had old-timey paper bags, and you could go and fill up a paper bag with the candy.
Yeah.
And but that candy
Delightful.
sucks. So and it's like a round table of maybe 6 people, and there's a young woman goes up and gets a bag of candy, and it's a giant bag of candy. It is like,
Overstuffed.
Yeah, overstuffed. It's like a 2-gallon milk jug, basically size of candy. She brings it back to the table and sets it down. Okay, kind of in the middle. So I assume, oh, she's a polite person. She got candy for the table, So I like grab a piece from it. Turns out that candy was all for her, but she didn't say that out loud. She just went quiet and glared at me and then got up and left the table. And then her husband was like, yeah, I don't know why you took that candy. That was hers. Like, you stole candy from my wife. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, come on, what are you talking about? I was like, surely this giant fucking bag of candy she's not going to eat all that. I thought he was joking. So I like then take out some candy and like, I'm like, here, you want? I toss someone some Necco wafers, someone else gets another suck stick. I'm like, ooh, I'll take the edible chalk. That's on me, whatever. And they are so pissed. They do. Again, this guy thinks I'm trying to like pile on when I just still think I'm like, surely no one wants to eat that much shitty candy by themselves. And so they just do not look at us. They glare at us. They stop talking to us for the rest of the party. And I felt bad, but also I was kind of like, share the fucking candy. Also, or just go get another
We're
fucking
never
bag.
gonna fucking see him again. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Share. Yeah. Just share.
the table's not empty.
Yeah.
You may go back.
And
Yeah.
it's not like it's like Reese's peanut butter cups in that
No,
fucking bag.
yeah.
It's like
No.
the worst candy ever.
People are not bull rushing the old shitty candy table. People are like, please, anyone can go up.
These were
I don't
take
need.
fives. I would understand. But they
Yeah.
were fucking suck sticks.
Yeah. Just
Well,
like, oh.
I'm so glad I wasn't at this wedding. This is horrible. But
It may be one of the worst experiences we've ever had.
but
Just
Dennis, this
themed
is,
weddings, themed wedding in general. That's just horrible. Themed. How old were these people that were having the wedding?
25-ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of got an excuse that they think they're cute.
But they just said it's old Hollywood, but they just had normal tuxedos on. There was nothing old Hollywood about any of it. Like
Well,
it
Dennis
was,
doesn't know the rules. Typically, in a stare down, you have to pick one or the other to win.
yeah, you have to give
Oh, that's
one.
right.
You have to give one person 3 and the other person 0.
Can you talk more about the experience at all? Like
I
sorry,
can, but I'm
kinda-
just getting fucking boiled over
I
here.
know.
So we got to get to our number one.
I'm
So
gonna
I'm
give
just going to hold back.
I'm going to give it to Mitch because he provided a lot of details there.
Yes. He remembered a lot more
Yeah, he
details
painted
than
a
me.
very
Fair enough.
great picture.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that is my idea of hell. It's
Yeah.
a wedding like that.
Damn Shasta wedding.
That's really bad.
Shasta.
Ugh.
Well,
Shout out to Shasta Collins.
and my firstborn, Vanilla Coke Zero. Mitch, it's time for your number one. Let's see what you got.
Oh, this is a very depressing memory for me, and it sticks right in my brain and my craw. But I'll try and put a little bit of a fun spin on it, and that is my sophomore year. I'm going out for the basketball team's JV team, and I mentioned I'm sure before in the podcast I went to all male Catholic military school. We recruited, so our varsity team is like 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". So there's no way I'm making that team, but so I'm trying out for JV. Get to the last day of tryouts, and they say, okay, now we're going to take each kid into the locker room one by one, and tell you if you made it or not. So we're all kind of sitting in the gym, shooting around. They call us down, and I go down to the locker room, and the coach is sitting there. He's sitting on this tiny little metal folding chair. If you need to imagine the coach, he's like Tony Soprano, but if Tony just ate cold cuts, not just at the fridge, but just in every single scene constantly. He's like 6'6", 450, 500. He's a giant dude. He mainly just sat in a chair and coached basketball, which I don't understand how you do that. Someone who doesn't run around and like how you can coach a very athletic sport like that. But
and still be out of breath.
And so he's like, hey Mitch, thanks for coming down. You're like, he said this, he's like, basketball wise, skills wise, he's like, you're like the third or fourth best guy here. Okay. Wait, hold on one second. And he unwraps like a cold cuts. Just that didn't happen. But but basically, but yeah. And then he's like, you're just not very fast. So
fuck you, dude.
Gonna have to cut you. As I can hear like the screws on the chair are like, kill me now, fucking melt my bones down, please, and make me something else. And I just stare and I'm like, really? You're gonna for that? Like I couldn't get in shape. I can, I can do. He's like, nah, no. We don't. I don't see how you have like a path to that. I'm like,
you said third or fourth fastest, right?
No, third or fourth best player in terms of like skills, knowing the game.
Aren't there 5 players on a team?
Well,
that puts you in the top 5, doesn't it?
There's like 12 total, but he was saying my fitness was so bad that I needed to be cut. Yeah.
The hoagie sucker was telling me your fitness was so bad.
Yes. The man who has a full cow on speed dial at all times. Yes. Yes. And then I look over at the assistant coach, who's like an 85-year-old crypt keeper in a jogging suit. I remember that. I don't remember his name. I just remember he always had a jogging suit on, and he was like 85. And I looked at him and he just shrugged and went, yeah. Sorry, bud. So I get up, I'm like, wow. And I walk out and I walk back up to the gym and I was just like, and they're like, my friends were like, yeah, like everyone assumed. And I was like, no. And I remember Joe Schaefer like just put his hands on his head like he'd just seen someone get murdered in front of him. And I was like, I want to go crawl in a hole and I want to die. And so the next day I took my first ever mental health sick day and my mom was very cool with it. So thanks, Mom, for letting me do that. Nice. But ever since that day, though, I've worked hard to fucking rock my shit on any basketball court I'm on as much as I can.
Right
so,
on.
Tony Soprano, fuck asshole, whatever.
Hoagie chucker.
Hoagie chugger. Mr. Hoagie chugger, I hope you choke on one. I hope you're dead by. Actually, probably is dead by now, honestly. But
I gotta say, being cut from a basketball team is, of course, the worst thing I can imagine. But I do have to imagine it since it never happened to me.
Oh.
Anyways, over to Brian.
Wow. Hey, Michael Jordan got cut from his JV team.
That's true. Okay. And things worked out just as well for you and he.
Son of a bitch. God damn it. Yeah.
I did ask the varsity coach for volleyball my junior year when I got put on JV again, hoping that I was going to start. Can I try out again for varsity? And she had to have the conversation with me like, you could do that, but if you want to play, you should probably stay where you are. And I was like, all right.
That's tough.
Thanks, Mrs. Mendoza. And then moved on from there. But my number one is not that sad, but something
That's pretty sad, dude.
It's very sad.
That's very sad.
And I was obsessed with basketball. That was my first love. That's all I did.
And I mean,
Sorry,
I know
okay,
you guys look at me and you see the physique of a volleyball star as I sit here, 6 foot 13 inches. No.
6 foot.
Band camp. Number one,
Yep,
band camp.
yep.
This was the year we got the Ford Windstar, incidentally enough.
Okay.
We drove down. It was in coordination. We would get our vehicles downstate in Bloomington Normal. And this is where the band camp I was going to at ISU. And this was like a week intensive. This was like the first time I stayed away from home by myself and just kind of thrown into the thrust of like other kids and just kind of had to sleep over and do all this stuff.
What instrument were you playing?
I was playing the clarinet, the coolest of the instruments.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was an average band member at best. Like I would rarely practice. I would practice enough to know enough for the concerts. And it wasn't a passion of mine to play the clarinet. I wouldn't discover the guitar until much later. But I went down to this band camp. We were seeing like cockroaches in the dorms. It was just kind of gross
Lovely. Yeah.
experience. And then the kid I got paired up with was really cool. He played saxophone. Whoever I had he was awesome. But then I just started having like weird experiences where it was like we finally went to this thing where we were actually sitting with a conductor and he would give us some music we were going to work on for the week. And I just could tell immediately I was the least advanced person in this situation.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Because he was talking about, he's like, all right, we're going to switch the key. Let's just play it in this key instead. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And then he was like, he had this whole presentation about the circle of fifths. So you know which notes go together. And it was like, everyone was nodding along. Yep. And then people were like making notes on their music, being like, okay, this is going to be an E instead of C, and just transpounding the notes. And like, I was like, wait, what does that mean? So it was a week of finger ghosting and not blowing.
Yeah, dude, that's what I was gonna say, man. Don't play. Just act like you're playing.
I did not play. And this was a tradition that I picked up that would stay with me through all of high school band.
So you played but didn't play for all of high school?
So instead of tonguing the reed, as they say, I would just kind of blow very and just try and like get into it like this though. Like try and like really be like, I'm good. Everyone in room knew. They totally knew.
Yeah.
And I was like, his hands aren't vibrating. What the fuck is
So
this?
why did you stay in band? Were you forced by parents or what was going on?
The band experience was
'Cause of
more
the
fun
chicks.
than band.
Okay.
Like the being in or like around it was cool. And so like once in a while, once I got to like the 7th, 8th grade, jazz band got in the mix. And that's when you were actually starting to play like bluesy songs and stuff. It's like, oh, I recognize these tunes. That's great.
Mhm.
And I eventually would make the switch from clarinet to bass clarinet and realize it could get lamer. So a bass clarinet is 3 times as big and looks like a saxophone.
Mhm.
But your music changes when you're part of a band. You go from having the melody, which is the cool part of the song, to when you switch to the bass clarinet, you look at your music and it's all bum 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 on repeat for 3 minutes. So that's all it became. But at this band camp, one of the kids I met was making duct tape wallets for everyone.
Oh.
So he was the cool kid. And I was
Obviously.
like, oh man, this is awesome. He's going to make me a duct tape wallet. But for some reason, he had some of the things that were going to go in my wallet to like make them the right size of the card or whatever. Like, I don't know what it was. Either way, I was without certain items for a while and I was starting to panic. Like we were going to have to start paying for stuff. And like, I didn't have like all of my money. And then not only was that happening, the day before we all went to a water park and I had not brought a padlock. So I put everything in a locker and just kind of closed it. And someone took all the cash out of my wallet.
God.
So luckily my uncle who was down there, my mom had to call, come bring me $40 or something just so I could live out the rest of the week. And then idiot me gives it to the kid who's making my duct tape wallet because that was more important to me. I was a fucking idiot. So not only did I not know the music and it was making me extremely nervous to go to these practices every day, I lose my money at the water park and I'm calling my dad freaking about the kid from Algonquin who's making my fucking.
Did you pay $40 for the duct tape wallet?
I don't know what. I definitely didn't pay $40.
Hey, Brian. I'll make you all for free. Just let me hold on to your $40 forever. Okay?
I don't know how it happened. That construction of it is like something I've blocked out. I'm like, why was I without the goods that I needed and was also waiting for this duct tape wallet in which I had to call home And my dad had to call somebody that then brought me from my dorm to the other kid's dorm so I could get my Velcro wallet and his duct tape wallet back. The details are so fuzzy, but I have like these like keyframes, like these little bits. I'm like, how did this happen? It doesn't make sense anymore. And because that is like so confusing in my brain, it's one of the main reasons I want to completely forget this experience because I come out like an idiot in all aspects of it. It's embarrassing. It's awkward. And again, it was just like classical music was not my thing.
That is
The last
exactly.
thing I had is we went to saw a performance of 4 people playing clarinet, and they're sitting there, and all of a sudden it's a very peppy song. They start playing, and their bodies are rocking, and they're going like this into it, and blah blah blah. And at the end of it, they're like, "Oh, do you have any questions?" And I was the first one to raise my hand. I'm like, "What's going on with your bodies?" I'm like, "Why do you guys move like that?" And they were just like, "We're into the music." And I was like, "Oh, I thought like that was a different way of playing."
Oh God.
So I was. This was not the highlight of my life.
This is terrible. This is exactly what I was hoping we would get.
Yeah,
when we started this.
This was a
episode.
very awkward experience. Luckily, every travel scenario after that was a little bit better.
Yeah. Thank God. Dennis, what are the scores for the final round?
Ooh, man, this one is tough. Both of those stories, you guys are chodes. My goodness.
So true.
Are you sure about that?
Oh man, but there is nothing more devastating than getting cut from a team. But man, that whole story, that was just a big whew.
But so did your dad have to call another dad and be like, "Hey, your kid's got my kid's wallet"? You're like, why?
My
Like,
dad
I'm
called.
Not sure why.
Dad called the contact who was the counselor who like came to me and then walked me to this guy. Hey, and then we knocked on the door together. Like, hey, do you have his stuff? And he had to give it back to me. And I'm like, thank you. And then it had to be walked back. And he's just like, don't give people your money here. Like, whatever. I mean, again, I was a moron.
How many times have you given someone $12.78 on the street for a bus ticket to a nearby city? I'm just curious.
I mean, how do you think I travel?
All right, I want to go. I'm gonna go with Mitch.
Oh, how many points for that guy?
We're gonna give Mitch 2, Brian 1.
Okay.
Well, that
I made you too sad, I guess.
That will wrap it up.
Bad for you.
That was the closest to a 3-point story I've ever had.
Well, that leaves Brian with 8 points of sadness.
Oh, God.
But Mitch has an even more pathetic 12 points of devastation. So,
I
Mitch,
pity you.
congratulations
Thank
on
you.
having
Thanks,
the
guys.
shittiest life of anyone in the room.
Yeah, you don't want to win this,
Yeah.
Brian. You don't want to win this, Brian.
Hey, you know what? Life is a shit pile, and I'm on top. I tell you what. You know,
I'm so happy to lose.
The
Dude,
good
do you still
news
have that
is-
wallet?
No.
That'd have been awesome. He's like, I got it
I
still.
can't even remember
today."
like what my Velcro wallet was. Like, must have a theme on it, like a Batman or something. I can't even tell you what was on it.
Well, I have good news for Mitch. Is he
Yeah.
gets to, like I said, normally this is where I would do a fast 5. We're doing something a little different. Mitch can redeem himself because
Okay.
I am challenging him to a game of the Chubby Cox All-Stars.
oh, yes.
Whoa,
Okay.
Know
Do
your
you-
favorite.
Does anybody know
Came on a
who-
good time, man. Good day.
Does anybody know who Chubby Cox is?
COX.
Please explain.
COX. Chubby Cox. He was an NBA basketball player very briefly.
Okay.
He actually has a nephew named Kobe Bryant.
Oh,
But anyways, Chubby Cox is obviously a very humorous name.
it is.
And so this game is all about NBA players who had great porn star names.
Oh, okay.
So I just want Mitch Brinkman
Okay.
to name the rest of the members of the Chubby Cox All-Stars. So here's the rules. I'm
Okay.
going to give you a very brief biography of each player, and then I will name a porn film that they starred in.
Got it.
And I cannot stress this enough. All of these names are real. These are actually the dudes' names.
Do you want
Everything else I've made up, but these are their real names. So to give you an example, this team is going to be coached by the first ever coach of the Charlotte Hornets, Mr. Dick Harder. Real name. So now let's get on to the players. Okay, this legendary point guard once led the league in scoring and assists in the same year, starring in Shallow, Shaved, and Shiny. You know it's
Mo Cheeks.
Tiny Archibald.
Oh, damn it.
All right, now we've got another legendary point guard.
Okay.
He won a championship in the 80s and is one of the all-time career leaders in assists and steals. And you can see him in the classic Butts and Butts and Butts.
Mo Cheeks.
Mo
That one's
Cheeks.
Mo Cheeks. I got that one. Hell yeah.
There's Mo Cheeks.
Yep.
All right, this 6'8" forward first played in the for the Toronto Raptors, but was briefly a member of the Harlem Globetrotters before his NBA career, starring in Unexpected Asses in Public.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Jamario Moon.
Oh, Jamario Moon, of course.
And so this man got the unfortunate name Nervous because he couldn't make free throws, starring Touching a Nerve with a Perv.
Purvis Ellison.
Nervous Purvis Ellison.
Yes.
Very nice.
All right, this journeyman point guard won a championship with the San Antonio Spurs in 2003, featured in The 1 Minute Man.
Avery Johnson?
Speedy Claxton.
Oh,
Yeah.
Speedy Claxton. God damn it.
Okay, on this one I
I'm
had to
terrible at this. I'm not that good.
I had to hope that there was a porn star named Shay for this one.
Okay.
And so I googled porn stars named Shay. And then, 15 minutes later, I came up with Nicolette Shay. All right.
Okay.
But this is a Georgetown grad. He played center, starring in Two Shays Are Better Than One. It's
Alonzo Mourning?
Ruben Boom Shay.
Oh,
All right, this is what I think he'll get. He's a former Milwaukee big man, and he starred in Plowin' in the Great North Woods.
oh shit.
Plowin' being the
Big
Dennis,
D,
you
step in here, please.
This is Ray Trailer?
Robert Tractor
Robert
Trailer.
Tractor Trailer.
Yeah, Robert
Oh.
Trailer. That's right.
Died alone in his beach apartment in Dominican Republic. There we go.
Wow. All right,
You won.
yes.
You won already. You won already.
What a happy day we're having. All right, this former Texas Longhorn point guard spent 10 years in the NBA with several teams, and you can see him performing in Trimming the Queen's Bush.
Okay. I'm DJ Augustine.
Royal Ivy.
Royal.
All right, this guy who was actually very skinny, but his first name was Lafayette. He had success with the Mavericks in the late 80s and early 90s, and he starred in Give Me a Place to Put the Fulcrum, and I'll Be Your
Fat Lever.
Fat Lever.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, now we're getting pretty dark here. This one is really into the world of the more disgusting
Okay.
fetishes. I don't endorse this
Yes,
sort of
please, yes,
behavior.
please. Okay, yep. Yes, please.
But he used to play for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh, yes.
And he was starred in Released Behind the Curtain.
Ooh, Who Richardson?
Who Richardson?
Yeah.
And again, this is truly depraved.
Yeah, you said it. Come on, let's just give
This
it. Yeah.
Croatian center
Make it hot. All right.
enjoyed a stint with the Phoenix Suns, but his porn was a Game of Thrones parody that actually delved into bestiality.
Wait, Croatian, you said?
Yeah. Yeah,
Tons.
so
That's what you're locking in on?
Game of Thrones parody delved into bestiality. That is, of course, Dragon Bender.
Oh,
All right.
This is great.
This explosive USC grad,
Okay.
shooting guard on several teams,
Explosive.
never really reached his full potential, but he was outstanding in Juicing the Tuna Sandwich.
OJ Mayo.
OJ Mayo.
Very nice.
And then this is your last one. This is the granddaddy of them all. This guy has the best porn name of anyone ever, but he was so good at basketball, nobody ever mentions it.
Magic
The
Johnson.
man's name is Magic Johnson.
Right.
How
That's
do
it.
we not talk about that more?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
that is it for this week's edition of Uber Cinco. I was joined by the Baron of Berwyn,
Brian Ernst.
the Lord of Lincoln Square,
Mitch Brinkman.
the Prince of Pilsen,
Oh, Dennis.
and I am the grand old man of Irving Park, Nathan Hennenfent. As Eric Cantona once said, when the seagulls follow the trawler, it is only because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Auf Wiedersehen and adios.
You've just listened to Uber Cinco, a production of UBK Studios. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your fine podcasts from.
If you like what you hear and want to support the show, please visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/UBK Studios. Every little bit helps us keep the lights on and the bill collectors at bay.
Keep tabs on us on all the social media at UBK Studios, and most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see that we really are just a bunch of good Midwestern boys.